All right, back to another session of In the Corner. For those who are new to In the Corner, this is our podcast out of Chicago Muay Thai. And it's a podcast that's not really built around Chicago Muay Thai. It's built around the members and the interactions that we have at Chicago Muay Thai, because we have so many different people here, so many eclectic personalities and backgrounds and histories and whatnot. We thought it would be a good idea to share these stories with our members and people from the outside world who don't get to see this every day and learn about this, because the stories we do come across are things you don't see every day. And today we're here with Reco, one of our members. Reco, welcome. And then we got Mazen.
What's up?
Right? And Jim here. So, you know, we spent some time with Reco before. You know, we were out on at a tournament out in Iowa last year, and that was when we spent the most time together with you.
Yes, sir.
And we got to know a lot about you. But again, I think this is something that you know, we want you to share your story about what your background was, how you came into Muay Thai, how Muay Thai has affected you, and things like that, and really just share that with everybody. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you all for having me. Yeah, once again, Reco Bates. Yeah, I've been a member of Chicago Muay Thai since January 16, 2021. I always remember the date. I love this place. This is like my sanctuary. It was a journey getting here. I'm a Chicago native, growing up here in these streets, and went through everything up and down as a young man. And Muay Thai was always something that I loved and dreamed about, but didn't have an outlet for. And when I found Chicago Muay Thai, I knew I needed to join. I didn't know how, so ended up reaching out to Chris Ortiz on Instagram and asking him, could I do a personal session with him? And then I was like, I might join this place, you know. And
is that how you found us? You found Chris's Instagram? And
no, I found you all first. I was searching specifically Muay Thai schools in Chicago, and I went around to different gyms, and nothing really gave the balance of community and competitiveness that I wanted. It was either really community centered, which is great, or it was like a little more competitive, like, you know, they're trying to train out fighters, which I think is amazing too. But this was the place where I felt like the respect for the sport was super high, and there was also this element of community and bringing people along. So I knew I wanted to figure out what this was about. And so I just looked at you all's page from afar, and I just saw Chris Ortiz one day. I don't know what I think he was doing, but I just messaged him, and I was like, can I do a session with you one day?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know it either, yeah.
Yeah, I saw him. I forget what I saw him doing, but I was like, man, I just reached out to him.
So you came in and did a private with Chris here?
Yeah, I did probably like 6 or so privates before I had
before you joined the gym. Oh wow!
Yeah. And when the gym closed, when it closed for COVID and it opened back up, Chris was doing all virtual stuff, and I was like, man, that's not gonna, you know, I didn't want that vibe. And then Riot was doing in person with the mask, so I started doing personal with Riot, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna join.
Wasn't that crazy that whole time, that COVID time?
Yeah, daily we had 4 classes a day, all virtual here at Chicago Muay Thai, and the members would go on to Zoom to train with us. Remember that?
Yeah, did we do 4 a day? We did 4
about 4 a day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
And I mean, on average, it was about 8 to 10 people that would join in, and we would do it on the mats here. It was at least 4 a day.
Wow.
And that helped us retain memberships.
Yeah.
Because we still, even though we were closed, we still gave people something to do from home. And
wow.
It was pretty good. I remember one of the main students that was on there like every day, maybe twice a day, was Alberto.
Alberto.
Remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out to Alberto.
Yeah. Well, that was crazy. It also gave us a time to do something. Instead of being stuck in our homes every day, we got to come in here and do a class and organize a class and broadcast, you know, do the Zoom, and it gave us a structure. We were really lucky because, you know, a lot of people couldn't go to the office, they couldn't go to work, they were stuck at home all day.
Well, that was the wild thing, was leaving home to come to work, even though you couldn't. But obviously things are different here. And I remember the wild part is how empty the streets were. Wasn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, I was the only person out there. I was like, am I supposed to be doing this? I was like, well, I got to make money.
Yeah. And a lot of our people stayed with us, probably from those Zooms and the privates. They were doing privates a lot. So during COVID, you were doing privates?
I was just doing just privates. Yep.
Okay.
And Chris
During
was
COVID, though, with Riot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just with him. And then, like, Chris was doing virtual, and I just didn't want to do virtual.
Were the privates with Riot here or
Here.
outside?
Nope,
Okay.
here. All here. Yep.
Wow. Wow. So then you ended up joining the gym and
Yes.
stayed, became...
Yeah, this was the place. It's crazy because I know that I used to do things after work before I joined Chicago Muay Thai, but it's like now if I'm not training or being with my son, I'm like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
So it's like I know I was doing something before I did Muay Thai, but it just feels awkward when I'm either not here or not with my son after work.
Oh,
So,
it's like that for me too. Like when I'm home, but
Yep.
even when I'm away on, like seeing family or something,
Yep.
and it's 6 o'clock at night, I'm
Yep.
like, what do you do at 6
Why am
o'clock?
I not
at
in
night? I
this?
mean, I'm just not used to doing
weird.
that.
Yeah,
It's like damn, I'm used to being here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just
Well, that's the average American lifestyle. Like you go to work 9 to 5, you go home, wait for dinner, order it, or you cook, and then you just watch Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
The
voice.
The Masked Singer.
No, that's real.
And then you wait until the weekend.
Yes,
And then
yeah.
you celebrate the weekend.
Yeah.
And then, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
With and Reco, we know your story. You told me a little bit about how you grew up and how hard it was when we were on the trip to Maximus when you were
Yes.
weight cutting, and then obviously the ride back. You shared a lot with me. If you want to just share with the people, what you struggled with growing up.
Yeah, I mean, we had it a little rough growing up. Single mom, 6 kids. So we she tried and she did what she could. But there were a lot of times we were homeless, and then I left home at 16 to just kind of figure it out. I just knew that it wasn't a healthy space for me. So I just I left after a big argument with my mom, and
How many kids again?
my mom has 8 kids total. But
You're one of 8?
I am one of 8. Yeah.
And all of you were homeless at one time?
We've all been homeless at
One time or
Yep.
another. And you were all homeless together, too?
5 of us were homeless together.
5 of you were
Yep.
homeless
Yeah,
together,
we used to
okay.
be under the viaduct. And so it was, we saw a lot. It gave us a sense of closeness, when you huddled up with somebody under a viaduct with all of your belongings. So it gives you a sense of closeness when you're in homeless shelters and stuff like that. And at some point, I knew I probably... it felt wrong to feel like as a child I needed and wanted better, but I knew I did, and so I left home at 16. And I said, I'll figure it out. I got a part-time job. I'll sleep wherever I can until I graduate high school, and I just, decided to just kind of go at the world the only way I knew how. So it was rough. Before I got to college, I just kind of slept in playgrounds. And then my aunt and uncle took me in, but they wanted $350 a month to kind of crash out at the house, and so that was rough, but I did it because I wanted to survive, and I was angry at the world. I wanted to prove that I was gonna make it, so I said I'd do that whatever I could to make it to college, and once I got to college, I wasn't coming back. So,
and from what you told me, your teachers and your fellow peers didn't even know you were homeless. You didn't say anything.
No, I didn't say anything in high school. I was proud of who I was, but it was embarrassing. I graduated top 10 in my class. I was the only male in the top 10 scholars in my class, so I was very smart. So it was a little embarrassing when you're achieving so much in school and you don't have the home to go back home to, and you don't have a parent to come up to your school and represent you when you're getting in a war. It was really embarrassing. So I didn't say anything. It just happened to slip out in a conversation with a counselor, and I just, was like, oh no, I don't, you can't send that to my house. I don't really have a. She's like, well, where are you staying? And I told her, she was like, oh, this is a problem. Like, this isn't okay. So they just ended up giving me bus cars to get back and forth to school and make sure I had resources. And so, and I told my best friend, he was like, you could have just slept on my couch. But it was embarrassing.
Didn't you say something about that you would pretend you forgot, like to sleep on the couch? You forgot, like, I missed the bus.
Yeah, I would just crash for a while, and oh man, it's 11 o'clock at night. The train's about to stop running. I'll just crash here till the morning. So that was how you kind of just put nights together. You just kind of spend one night here, spend another night at another place. So you just kind of tried to figure it out.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. And then when the school finds out, well, you said you went to college. How did you afford college? Was it a state?
Yeah, I took I found out that you could, you could apply to be an independent student for financial aid, and that all of your loans will be in your name, and your grants will be, and they give you a few more grants than they would loans. And so I was arrogant in high school and didn't listen to any adult that told me to let them help me with college, and I filled it out on my own, and I bombed it. I bombed the financial aid form, and I just put a parent's name on there because I thought that's what you needed. And it came, when it came looking to give a parent a loan for me, there was no parent, and so I almost risked not going to college.
Wow.
So I just ended up coming clean to Northern Illinois University and telling them what my story was, and they were like, "Oh, well, you should have just told us that. We'll give you independent status, and you'll have money to go to school." So they ended up giving me 60% grants and 40% personal, student loans in my own name, and I enrolled at Northern, in July after I graduated high school. So I was almost at the deadline.
And you boarded there too? You stayed at the school? They gave you housing?
Yeah, they gave me housing. I was in a dorm for 3 years, and I saved up. In those 3 years, I saved up enough money to get an apartment. And then I got an apartment. I just never came. I just finished out my bachelor's and my master's there.
Well, I didn't know you went to. I went to NIU.
Yeah, you told me.
know that.
You told me one time. Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't graduate though.
It's all good. It's a scam.
We won't get into that
It's
right now.
a scam.
We'll move on to Reco's story.
Yeah, not mine.
And you got your bachelor's and master's.
Yes,
both?
sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Could you have gotten your master's somewhere else?
I could have. I wanted to actually. We conceived my son going into my first year of my grad program. I was going to transfer to Atlanta to go somewhere else, but when I found out we were having him, I decided to stay.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
At NIU, did you go in through the chance program?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, my friends did, and I was so jealous of them for it because they looked at it as like this thing. It was like, oh, we're in the chance program where the kids who really didn't make it. I'm like, no, y'all got all the resources that traditional students don't have. We just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Y'all got like a person who's holding you accountable, give you a checklist, tell you what the resource centers are.
Yeah, so if you don't know what the chance program is, so in CPS, NIU would reach out to certain high schools, like one was Schurz. Where'd you go?
I went to Orr on the west side.
So, and they had it was called the Chance Program, and they would meet with teachers, and teachers would pick students that wouldn't necessarily go to college, and whoever the teachers would pick that they thought deserved to go to college, NIU would accept them through the Chance Program. And through the Chance Program, they'd give you grants and loans, and then you would have like counselors that would check on you every single month or semesters just to make sure that like you're getting good grades. And I got in through the Chance Program. That's how I know it.
Oh, okay.
So I probably wouldn't have went, but luckily one of my art teachers nominated Alan and I, and that's why we went to NIU.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so it's like they tried to make it to where if you didn't score high on your test, but you were a good kid, you didn't cause problems, and you were okay, you just didn't test well, they, try to get you in through the chance program. So they try to help you out if you didn't meet all of the traditional requirements.
But you didn't go in through that.
No, I had scored high on my ACT. I was top 10 senior, so I had a lot. I was a 4.0 student in high school, so.
Wow. That's crazy that you were 4.0 when you had all no structure around you.
Yeah.
And anybody would make an excuse.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a house to go home to every night and, study if I wanted to, a room.
Yep.
You didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
You had nothing.
Yeah, and that's what keeps schools from checking on those students because it seems you're a good kid, you ain't causing no problems, you got good grades, so nobody thinks that you're going through anything. And it's like, oh, crap, this kid is not going to a home. So, yeah, nobody really knew until my senior year. And they're like, oh, you've been homeless for the last 2 years? I was like, yeah.
Wow.
So,
It's an amazing story.
Yeah. And then, again, your brothers and sisters, they moved on to different spots. They're all in Chicago now, or they're moving on? Or?
all of my sisters are in Toledo, Ohio, so they're all in Toledo. My younger brother, who got killed a couple years ago, he's in Toledo. Then my older brother's here, my youngest brother is here. So the boys are here, the girls are in Ohio, pretty much.
What brought him to Toledo?
That's what, led me to leaving my mom's house. She, she would move us around so much, and I had just gotten tired of it. So that one time she just came up with this idea to move to Toledo with this guy, and I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not going. Like, we've went from the south side to the north side to the west side to Michigan to Tennessee back here. It's like I'm like, this is the last stop.
You're
for
done
me.
with it.
Yeah, I'm not moving no more.
Well,
yeah, so
you didn't make a bad move because,
No.
I mean, Toledo is not a good place.
listen,
Sorry, Jabril. Ohio.
I tease Jabril
Sorry,
about that all the
Jabril.
time.
Well, he's from Cleveland,
Yeah,
but
he's
you
from
got to
Cleveland.
drive through Toledo to
Yep.
get to Cleveland.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Toledo's
So,
depressing.
It's
It's just nothing there. You feel me? I tell the residents, I tell my siblings all the time, it's just nothing here. It's like, y'all got a Chipotle, and it was like, yo, we got a Chipotle. It's like, it's a Chipotle. You know what I mean? So it's like, love the Toledo, but it is nothing. I'm good.
yeah, it's like a city in the middle of the country. You know, this is like a city. It's on a river there, and it's just a city, but it's not really a city. It's like everything closes at 8 o'clock.
yeah.
It's like and there's nothing major there.
Yeah.
It's just there's an amusement park there that's pretty close. Cedar. It's called
Yeah,
Cedar Point.
Rapids, yeah,
I've been there. I've been there before.
Cedar Point,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
But
pre-
in and out. You go to the amusement park. You come back to
Yeah,
Chicago.
and it's
Right.
outside of Toledo, so there's really no need to go to Toledo. I used to go there for work,
Right.
to downtown Toledo, and I couldn't stand it. So you made a good move by not going to Toledo. That was good, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, unless, I don't think they probably, I wonder if they have Toledo Muay Thai.
Yeah.
We'll have to look that up and see if that exists.
They might hear these comments and
Probably
want to
not.
match.
Yeah, yeah. So then, when you came here to the gym, you trained with us for a while,
Yep.
and then you ended up competing.
Yep.
And then why don't you go into that, like what your thoughts were about competing and how you got into it
Yeah.
and your struggles with it a little bit, just so people know, because
Yeah.
again, you could have, you had a hard background, you had a kid. How old was your son when you came here?
It was 2021, so Ryan was 7, 6 or
So-
7, yeah.
So, still a young kid,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
you could have maybe chosen easier thing to do by not doing this,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm very busy. I
Yep.
have a lot of things to do. Number
Yep.
one, you're single dad.
Yep.
You have a business, not a business, but well, we didn't get into what you do now
Yep.
either.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
I mean, talk about that too,
Yep.
and then how you got, and kind of maybe blend that into the,
Yep.
how you got in a competition and
Yeah.
all that. Because I just want people to hear it, because what you do with your background, your story, and the challenges you have now, it didn't get it any easier, really,
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, first of all, when I first got here, I did not want to compete. I was like, I wasn't against it. It just didn't cross my mind. Like, I had no thought about it. I had no, like, the most I could see myself when I was dreaming about joining here was hitting the pads. I was like, I want to be able to hit those pads so good. That was it. And just being here and the culture and the collective and the way people made it feel like something you wanted to be a part of. I remember watching my first smoker a little bit after I joined, like I think the April 2021 smoker, and I think it was like maybe John Owens, David Lepnam, I think their group, Jules, Devon, I think it was their group. And I was like, that is, like I had only did the 6 a.m. classes, so I saw John Owens every morning in training. I saw Mika when he was still a student. I saw and Devontae. So to see them do the smoke, I was like, oh, that's something. So the thought started there of like, man, that's really great to see people do that. And then, like I said, Saran Harris, he just would keep making these little comments about me doing it and me joining the advanced class so I just, one time I was like, if I'm gonna hang around the gym one time and see if they need an extra for advanced class. And
I remember you just sitting there and you would watch the
I would
class.
just hang around.
Do you remember that?
No.
You would
Yeah.
just chill and watch.
Yep, I would come
No,
in
I
and
don't
do
remember
Like you would sit on the ring or just
Yep.
be in the back and just kind of watch us.
Yeah, I would come in and do the 8:30 and then the 8 and then the 9:30 class, and then when the advance would come, I would either go fake ride the bike or just kind of like mosey around. And I was like, one day if they odd, I'm a join, and I just would. And then one day somebody looked over, was like, oh, you want it? And I just like joined, and so
You jumped. That's how you got in, huh?
Yeah, and it was like a day when you had us, like when you were like on an ab circuit. It was like 6 minutes as I was like, I shouldn't have joined this class. Like, this is crazy. If this is they do in advance, I don't want to be, So, but it was great. It was super fun, and it gave me a little boost for my confidence. And then Saran, I would come in. I think he used to do the Tuesday night class, and I would always come to his class, and he would just keep making these comments about me, like, oh, if you want to compete, it was just, and so I just like, I'm gonna try a smoker, and I just tried, and it was super fun. I did not. I struggle with the competition aspect because I really, I like the art of Muay Thai. I like the motion of it, the competitiveness of it. But there is a part of it where we have to, we don't play fight. You know, you got to go fight. And, you know, I think sometimes we're hurting my opponents. I think that, you know, I struggle with that sometimes. There's this clip in TBAs where Mazin yells at me about being nice, and you can hear it in the ring. So I bought all my fights, and you can hear Mazin yelling from the side, "Don't be nice, Reco." And I'm like, this is like, this is the personified version of what I, you know, deal with.
Be nice after.
Yeah, and so my son, he loved coming here with me. He still does. So that was real fun. Competing in the smoker was so fun. It was like my first competition was so fun. I will never forget. I always ask Mazin to corner me when everything, because I love the way he kind of just like speaks to me and like kind of pushes me. And even when we do personals or just hold pass, it's like Mazin just speaks the language that gets me to the point where I know I need to get better. And I just remember walking to the ring and Mazin, and it was like the last little bit of nervousness that was in me. Mazin said, you know, this is your house. Like, you come here and you train here. This gym has your sweat all in it. You know, don't let somebody come in here and, you know, act like this is, you know, they earned this. This is your house. And that knocked off the last little bit of nervousness I had to compete. You know, and so and so the smoker it was fun. It was, yeah.
So those who don't know, a smoker is a fight that we have in this ring here that's for amateurs only. Not only, well, it's all amateurs, but it's beginners, I should say.
Yep.
Really, 0 fights, 1 fight, maybe 2 fights at the most. After that, we like the fighters to go out to what we call the promotions, the one-offs or the tournaments, where you have more experience. This is really just to get you in the ring, get you to learn how to compete. That's what the smoker was. So that was your first fight, and many of our fighters' first fight.
Yeah. So that was fun because you know you don't know what you don't know. And so preparing for a fight, that was like one of the best things you could challenge yourself to do, is to eat right, compete, show up, train, practice, be disciplined, routine, and then get ready for a day. And you do 8 to 10 weeks of training for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? So it's humbling. You know, it's a really humble. Muay Thai is really spiritual and it's really humbling because you have to respect this, and people who don't respect this don't go too far in this. And so I love the fact that you're mandated to respect this sport if you're going to compete in it. So it was amazing to have my son here for the smoker. He really liked it. It was good to kind of dominate and be disciplined. You know, so that was so that was fun.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing about Muay Thai, how a lot of people want the glory of the immediate satisfaction that people are used to today. They want the immediate results. Then they learn, oh my gosh, I got to train for 6 weeks for like you said, a 15-minute fight. Well, that's hard. I don't have time for that. They do have time for it. They can make time.
Exactly.
They just don't want.
They don't want to do it. And,
well, I don't mean to cut you off, but you know this. A lot of the times, like, we'll screen people, or people come in new and they're like, I want to fight. I want to compete. And usually the people that say that never fight. It's like a dream for them, and they'll like just say it, but they don't want to do the work. And when it's time to do the work, and they see that it's hard, they quit. You know.
Once you hear those words, I want to fight, I want to be a fighter, you almost always check out, because they'll say, you don't even know what you're talking about. Not, you know, and a lot of them have the fight in them. They don't have that discipline, though, to do all the other things that people don't see
and
behind the scenes. You know?
And be consistent with it. You know, I think that's, you know, that was the fun part of going from the smoker to the Maximus fight. Like, you have to be consistent with, I think, you know, because that was a point in time where I was transitioning to a really rough period. I started, you know, going through a court battle for my son, and so that was super rough. But the Maximus fight was a real fun, you know, way to kind of like, you know, let go for a second. You know, you train, and then, you know, we showed up that day, and they told us on the spot that the guy, shout out to Austin, wanted to do no shin guards. And so I was terrified. You know, so I texted Mazin immediately, like 10 times in a row, like, Mazin, they want me to do no shin guards. Answer me, please. And so, you know,
I ignored him.
You're doing shin guards. No shin guards, dog.
His text was just affirming. He's like, all right, let's go. And I was like, what? And so I just told, you know, Rich, like, whatever.
Well, once you go no shin guards, it's hard to go back.
It is really hard to go. I remember telling Alex, like, you know, I don't know if outside of tournaments, you know, when I do another promotion fight, I don't know if I want to do shin guards anymore. I feel like once you get a taste of it, it's not real Muay. Like I get the tournament, we want to preserve ourselves for the multiple fights, and so I respect that. But for the one-offs, I feel like go do it. Like, go do it.
Yeah, go do it without the shin guards.
Yeah, go do it. Like, do it. And I know I'm not saying people who don't do it. There are talented fighters who wear shin guards, but the beauty of it is when you're in that element for real. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you've got to be much more select about when you kick, and how you defend, and when you defend.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't hit the wrong parts of the other person's body, or you're going to get hurt. Like you kick their elbow.
Yeah, you can hurt yourself. You know, like sometimes I may, block padded kicks, but you don't want to take too many of those shins to the arm. You know? Yeah, so you want to be moving, be on that bicycle a little more.
So the Maximus promotion, for those who don't know, that's a promotion in the suburbs of Chicago. So that is what we call a one-off promotion, where you have one fight in the night, and it's maybe 15 fights in that whole night for the promotion. You're one of them. Different than the Smoker, where they're all beginners. These fighters have experience, and they're matched with you roughly. But when you get into the one-offs, you could fight somebody with 5 more fights than you, or 3 more fights. Or in a tournament, you're generally in the same experience within a few fights also. But you might have multiple fights. On this fight, you did not. So that was your first, outside the Smoker, that was your first endeavor, right?
Yeah, and Austin had, I think, 4 fights at that time. So I was, so when he wanted to do no shin guard, so because he had all that experience.
Who's Austin? Who?
Austin Brown. He fights out of Pure Muay Thai, up in, I believe, Lyle.
Greg.
Yep.
They had done. He was here he fought in the Smoker, the same Smoker I fought at. And the funniest thing about the Maximus story is that I was at a school running a training the morning. Cause remember, Jim, we were waiting to hear back if I would get a match, and I hadn't heard back in a couple weeks, so I really didn't think I was gonna fight. I was like, well, I tried, and I was literally stuffing a chocolate croissant into my face, and I got a text message from Jim like, "Can you make 170?"
I texted you?
Yeah, you texted me. I'd never forget. It was August 19th, and you texted me. You was like, "Oh, can you make 170?" And we had to weigh in September 9th. I just spit it all over.
Throw up in the bathroom.
Started doing push-ups right there in the middle of the room. People were like, "What's wrong with this guy?" Yeah, so I knew I had to knock off about 26 to 27 pounds.
Wow, that much?
Oh yeah, I was probably about because like I said, we had been waiting for a while to hear. And I fought the Smoker. I fought at 180, 185, I think. So I only put on like 11 pounds, in those months after. So when you sent me that text, I was like, oh crap, all right, but I can do one. So I knew I could get there. So yeah, so that was super fun.
Was your weight cut hard? Was it hard to get down there?
I never have a hard weight cut. You know what I mean? I always, because I think me being pescatarian doesn't make it, it makes it kind of easier to digest. I just up my fiber and then John Owens he just kind of knows what I need. So he always just give me a plan. I'm really good at not like eating things I'm not supposed to eat, So
I didn't know you're pescatarian.
I only eat fish. So I never have really hard time with knocking. When I get heavy, it's usually because I'm not training as consistently, or I'm like with my son on the weekends and he eats a cookie. Oh, I can have 1 cookie with him, and they could turn into 6 cookies.
Yeah.
So that's
can't just have one. Right?
Yeah. So but other than that, I can't really eat a lot of grease and stuff. So I usually only get heavy when I'm sitting around or I'm eating sugar. So if I cut sugar and just run or up my cardio, the pounds kind of come off.
Because you generally eat healthy. Yeah. It's just, like I said, it's snacks and shit.
Yeah, snacking. Yep, that's mine. Yep.
And Chris is pescatarian too.
Yeah.
Coach Chris.
Yep, we talk about that.
You know that too.
Yeah, that was one of the things we bonded over when I first trained with him.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting.
You guys train together and then eat a fish sandwich together.
Go up for a sandwich.
Fish tacos. Fish tacos.
What's your favorite fish?
Right now, my favorite fish is probably either bronzino or snapper.
Bronzino's good. How do you prepare it?
I like to pan sear the skin of it and then roast the flesh of it. So I'll put it in the cast iron, butterfly it, crisp up the skin in the cast iron, then take the cast iron and shove it in the oven under the broiler to kind of roast the fish.
So you cook it with the skin. You get it with the whole fish.
Yeah, I love getting soul-fish. Yep. Yeah. There's a market over here in Evanston, Old World Market, where I get a lot of whole fish from. Yep. So get the snapper, get the branzino from there.
They gut it there and butterfly it for you.
They'll cut it for you if you want it. So
nice.
I don't got the knives to cut it up. So
I never cooked the whole fish. I should try doing that.
I don't. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get it. Yep. So
you eat the skin and everything?
I do. I love the skin.
Too,
I do. I definitely love it. That's why I crisp it up first. So. Yep.
Well, what do you season it with?
So for me, I use a no salt Tony Chachere's seasoning with a little bit of. Sometimes I'll do the lemon butter Old Bay. and then just some garlic, and rub it on there, stuff it with some thyme and some garlic, and then there you go. So
Easy.
What's also good is if you roast garlic and kind of smash it and smear it on there, so
Like a paste. You make it like a paste.
yeah, then you season and then rub that seasoning in so it sticks to it really well. Sear it and then roast it so it does come off beautiful.
Bring some over next time.
Yeah.
I brought that pan of fish and food for
That was
the
good.
barbecue, and it was I had no left.
Everybody killed that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love cooking. So
Well, we'll do another barbecue this summer. We'll have to get you
Yeah,
to
I think
I love cooking for people.
on the radar is going to be post TBAs.
TBAs probably.
Yeah. Have a big party.
So the TBAs was the next thing that you did after
Yep.
the Maximus. TBAs is a tournament out in Iowa. It's a grueling 5-day tournament.
Yep.
Grueling in the fact that, well, in multiple ways, that you might have to fight up to 5 times.
Yes.
The other thing is that there's just a lot of waiting around, and
Yeah.
you're away from home for 4 or 5 days, and out in Des Moines, Iowa, which is not in itself bad, but
Yep.
it's just it's a tough time. How did that go for you?
TBAs was so fun. I can't wait to do it again next year. It was the best challenge ever because, I think one fight is like you get ready for this moment, you deal with it, you go through it, it's over. The TBAs for somebody with like this, I don't like so much socializing, so much people, and it was a lot. It was just, you just waiting, and it was so nerve wracking. And then like the experience was super fun because, we get there. We weigh in. They tell me I was like a half a pound above having to drop down a class, and so I had cut too much weight, and so I ended up weighing in perfectly at the best sushi ever. After that's all you are. That sushi, the best sushi ever. Shout out to whoever that was.
Oh, we went out to that sushi place
Yeah.
downtown, Des Moines.
That was. And I just happened to find that place randomly and saw you. I was like, oh hey y'all.
We're going again in this June.
Yeah, you got it. Please go for it.
Well, what's wild is the owner and one of the chefs actually lives in Chicago.
Yeah, that's
and
what he said.
commutes
Yep.
every weekend
That's what
back
he
and
said.
forth.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what he
nuts.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But
that
they
was.
always take care of us.
That's a 5-hour drive.
Yeah,
It's not like a
he's
hour
hit that.
drive.
Yeah, so but it was fun. I had 4 fights in 4 days. Lost in the championship by decision. I'm really cool with all of my opponents except for the one guy who my second fight. Well, I felt like he was taunting me a little bit before the fight, so I kind of took that a little personally.
What do you do?
You know how like when you come in the ring and you do your respect for the ring and you look over at your opponent. You look over. I just felt like the smirk. You know how when somebody's smirking and looking at you in a way where it's like they don't. It's like you feel like they're a bully or you feel like they think that you about to be somebody that they're about to walk through. And he was taller than I was, and so I didn't like how he looked. I didn't like. I thought he looked a little arrogant, and that was that was my best fight of the tournament because I just kind of poured it on.
You're like, watch this.
Yeah, I was like, man, is he, so I didn't know what to think. But my first fight was really fun. Brock hit really hard. So that was like, and it was nerve-wracking because I was the first fight of our team. And so I was like, oh my God.
Oh, you were the first fight in the tournament?
I was the first fight of our team, yeah. And I was like,
wow.
yo, do not go lay an egg. Like, just, and that was like, I remember you said something after the gym where you was like, I feel like you learned each round of that fight you'd learn. You just kept learning and building on it. And I did. Like, I learned so much that first fight about head movement and, being active. And you all kept yelling at me to press the guy. And I was worried about his power. And when I went back and looked at the fight, I stunned him like 8 times, and I never pressed forward. And so it taught me, I think the beautiful thing I learned in the first fight was we trained so much for TBAs. Like, I trained super hard for everything I do. But in sparring, we don't spar to finish our opponents or our partners. You compete and you're respectful, and you know that you have to stop at a point. I think it was hard for me to make that connection in TBAs because I would stun him and I would sit there and wait for him to get back into his wits. And then when looking back on it, I'm like, this is why they were telling me to press him, because they saw this. Like, they saw me. Like, it was one time I walked behind the ref. Like, and he stumbled, and I, like, walked behind the ref, pulled my shorts up, and then it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, go back to it. Yeah,
like,
now's not time to fix your shorts.
It's like, what are you doing, dude? It was.
We probably said that.
Do you want to win?
You are yelling at me so much, and I'm like, I get it, y'all. But and I'm like, when I looked at the tape, I'm like, oh, this is bad.
We probably yelled, why'd you stop?
Yeah.
That was the advice the entire time. I was like, I'm like, because that's why Augie yelled at me, and I was like, yo, he's powerful. And Augie's like, I don't care, and I was like, And then when I looked at the fight, I was like, oh, this is, I was like, I was just walking
So
around.
you eased off.
It's a good point. Yeah, you don't train. That is something. It's funny. I was kind of talking about that last night when we were doing the clinch class with them. I was talking about clinch specifically, how like when you get into the fight, it's not as chill as this.
Yes.
Now you're drilling to drill. You're
Yes.
sparring and drilling kind of.
Yes.
You're not. And when you fight, it's much more frantic.
Yes.
And much more of a fury
Yes.
and a whirlwind.
Yeah.
And that's why we're sparring like that, so you know when that fury does happen,
Yeah.
that you're ready.
Yeah.
Your body knows what to do.
Yeah.
That neurotransmitter connection is there, and you know what to do. And but it's way different than sparring.
Well, what's wild too about sparring and fighting is that here you can't really hit somebody 100%. So even like to make that connection with like I can punch him as hard as I want is kind of weird at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can kick as hard as I want, and sometimes it just takes you a minute to kind of get to that mind that mind frame.
And it works the other way too, in that I can kick him 100%, and then they do it. That's some people will do that. They'll try and do that the whole fight, and they realize I can't do that.
You got to set it up.
I got to change my pace and my rhythm. I can't kick 100% every strike.
Yes.
You know? So, but you learn. But what you did was, and I think as a corner and a coach, it's a huge. It's a huge testament, I think, to any fighter when I see what they learn from round to round or fight to fight. And when I can see a fighter learn round to round, to me that's super impressive. You know, because I probably didn't do that.
And that's what Gray did last weekend.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's, I think, the hardest thing you can do is adjust when you're losing. And look what Gray did.
Yeah, to adjust within a fight, but especially when you're losing.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
So it was a really good learning experience. As I always look at like the movie Incredibles, where the kid who runs really fast, he's like jogging. He's like jogging, and they're like, yo, you can run, and he runs and he wipes everybody out. It's like I end up breaking Brock's nose just from punching. Seriously.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he ended up messaging me afterwards, like, yeah, you broke all the cartilage in my nose.
Oh wow,
yeah,
good job.
Because that's when I got the when I got the 8 count, that's when he couldn't breathe through his nose. And so it's like you don't think like, oh, we got 10 ounces on now, and so I can kind of so when Devontae told me that afterwards, he was like, yeah, I approached my TBAs like I was trying to knock everything out of the park, like every strike was 100, and that's what I learned. With my third opponent, when I was dislocating his shoulder, he was swinging with his leg kicks had so much malice in them. I was like, oh, he's really kicking my leg, So it was like the first time.
Trying to hurt me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's really. And when we went to go visit him afterwards to check on him, his coach was telling us about their game plan. It was to kick my leg whenever I changed stances. And so that taught me, like being technically sound. Like, in the first 2 fights, I had been able to attack, block, and then switch stance, and then, get cute and throw your little kick off the wrong stance or whatever. But they had watched that. And by the third fight, he landed 3 leg kicks in like 13 seconds, just off me,
changing your stance.
just watching my footwork. If I step back, went pow, he popped my leg.
They studied your video beforehand.
Yeah, he told us. He's like, we watched him. We knew he was savvy, but we saw that he kept switching his stance, so we wanted to kick it. And he was blasting my leg, And I knew in the clinch I was stronger. I didn't mean a dislocated shoulder, but I knew if I could try to wrench control from him, I could bend him. And when I went to bend him, his shoulder popped out.
It just pops out, yeah.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
So that was So, and I think that would have been I think that was going to be. I think toward that middle of that round, I was figuring him out, and like when I finally got enough courage to go back and watch that fight, I was like, okay, I had started off down, but I kind of made it back into the fight before I dislocated his shoulder because I kind of slowed down and stopped slipping around. And so that was like a big learning test. And then the championship fight was just the fight I knew that I didn't ever want, which was a clinch battle. And I knew that if I got into a clinch battle, I didn't want to clinch for 3 rounds, and he whooped my ass in the clinch for 3 rounds. So that was just a learning. And then talking to him afterwards, and he's like, yeah. And when I went back and watched all the videos, he was in the crowd watching my fights, and so he had researched and he knew that I had a really good right kick and right hand, and so he had neutralized that by staying close, keeping me, and then coming in and clinching. And destroying.
And I think now your clinch is probably pretty good. Maybe you probably didn't have it then.
Nope.
The same way you did.
Just
now.
frantic in the fight. I never was calm, and like that fight taught me to be calm in the clinch. He just was destroying me because I was so frantic, and you're not argue with, you're not worried about technique. I was trying to prove that I was stronger than he was, and I wasn't. And for the first time, I wasn't stronger than somebody who I was in the ring with. And by the time I was in the third round, my arm, I could barely lift my arm. My lats were on fire, you know, so.
Yeah, well, that's why we always talk about that, especially in the clinches. Don't use power, because more than likely, by the time you get halfway through your fight, or especially towards the end of the fight, you're not going to have any strength left or power left anyway. It's going to have to be technique. And the other guy won't either.
Yep.
They won't either.
Yeah, so that was like the thing, and like, you know, just connecting with all of them. That's the other beauty of Muay Thai, is that like all of my opponents, except for one, phenomenal. Like, we keep in touch with. I've trained with a couple of them outside of here. I'm going to Texas in a little bit to train with my third opponent and his, you know, gym. So yeah, like
what gym is he at in Texas?
Ambush Muay Thai.
Oh yeah,
yeah, we know.
Yeah,
them.
sure.
Yeah, they were really good. So, you know, really warm, really welcoming. But that's the beauty of it. You know, you can sit there and fight somebody, and you know, you end up, there's a camaraderie that comes with it.
You know, I'll never forget. One of my first fights. I guess it was 1998. I was in a championship fight with this kid from, where was he from? Honduras. What was it? Not Costa. Yeah, Costa Rica. He's from Costa Rica, and fought him, lost to him in the overtime in the thing, and it was a great fight. But he invited me to his wedding.
Yeah.
I went out and saw him in Scotland. I hung out. He moved out to Scotland. I went out and hung out with him out there. We didn't even train. We just became friends. And I still talk to him, and that was 1998. And I still talk to him from here. He's got kids now, grown kids. He was just an 18-year-old. He was 18 at the time. But that's what fighting does. You know, it gives you a bond. You know.
Well, you learn a lot about each other without talking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what that Bear Shingar fight with Austin. Me and Austin are like really, we keep in close, because it's like Bear Shingar for my second fight my first fight outside of a smoker was.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was, and we were kicking each other. So I was like,
the sound of your kicks. Were you there for that? You were there, right?
I don't think I was.
No, he wasn't.
I think you were out of time.
No, because you called me after, right?
But one, I'm telling you, like the sound of his kicks landing on the other person, I mean, echoed through the whole venue. It was the loudest kicks I've probably ever heard.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, you threw the kicks, I mean, 100%.
Yeah, I knew that being Bear Shingar, I knew that I wanted to start those conversations first.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I knew that I didn't want to be, you know, I didn't want to wait to see how a kick felt without no Shingars. I wanted to, like, and so I wanted to chop everything.
Blasting him.
Yeah, every time his foot stepped where I chopped. So.
Leg kicks? Leg kicks,
yeah. I'm not a calf. I don't like calf kicks. I think calf kicks are dangerous. I get their effectiveness, but I'm a traditional Muay Thai, you know, leg kicker. I want to kick that hamstring, that right behind the knee.
The quad,
the
hamstring.
That quad right behind the knee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
It hurts.
I love the leg kicks. Love them.
Yep. Yeah.
That's good. What's your next fight gonna be? Do you think?
I want to do in the fall. Brian's finishing up. My son's finishing up baseball now, so hopefully that'll be done in June, so I can get into some real serious training. Baseball is really busy. He's got a lot of games, so it's really hard to train consistently. So if I could fight in the fall to get ready for TBAs and, you know, whatever comes up next year, I want to do another fight, another tournament. I'll probably just be a student, you know. I think that'll be it for me, you know.
Yeah, that's. How old are you now?
I'm 35.
35.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got some time left, but hey, it's whatever you want to do, and you know, maybe the one-offs are better for you. You know, in terms of the time training. I think you have to train longer and more for a tournament.
Yeah.
You know, but you still have to train for the one-offs.
Yep.
I mean, either way, training. You know, fight's a fight. You got to be prepared. You know, and it's not just about. You know, it's like we talked about. The preparation is part of the fight.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun. It's part of the challenge.
Yeah.
So
Yes, it's the
either
journey.
way, you know, whichever you do, it'll work out for you.
Yeah, physically I feel like I could do it for years, but I just don't want to. I love it. I don't want to cheat. I never believe in cheating the game. I don't want to just take fights if I'm not going to try to really do it. I don't want to just do them in my spare time. I love it. I respect Muay Thai too much to just be, you know, taking a random fight. And I respect the people who do that, because that's a good way to stay active. I just know me. You know, if I don't love it enough, I respect the game and let the people who do it and cheer them on. Like what our teammates did. Shout out to everybody who fought at Prime. I love sitting in my house watching that. It was amazing.
It is really amazing when you watch these amateur fighters, like the sacrifice they put into this,
Yes.
and they're not getting paid a dime.
Yeah.
They're not getting paid a dime, and
Yeah.
they're in such amazing shape.
Yes.
The time that they all put in their own respective
yes,
gyms,
yes.
the travel,
Yes.
to get, some people come from Bermuda to
Yeah.
TBAs.
Yes.
People come from California.
That Bermuda team was scary.
Yeah.
Remember them? They were like, yo, they're
there every year.
Samoan, they're something.
Yeah.
They look like, don't mess with those dudes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're there every year.
Yep.
They come far, and but you see it in any place you go. You just see the commitment that's there.
Yeah.
It's all amateur.
It's
They're
right.
not getting paid
yeah.
a dime.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say this is, like I tell my friends who think that this is cool, I'm like, you got to respect this. Like, this isn't, it looks cool when you see a few highlight reels on Instagram, but you don't see the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into this. Like, we really waking up at 5 to run, to train at 6, to come back at 5, to train till 9, for 6 days a week for 6 to 8 weeks.
6 weeks, right?
This is for real. This is for real. So
Right.
yeah.
And there's athletes out there that do that get paid millions of dollars to do
Exactly.
that.
Right.
Millions of dollars.
Right.
And I'd argue to say that our fighters and other fighters, other gyms too,
Yeah.
put in probably more blood, sweat, and tears and time
Yeah.
than some athletes who get paid millions of dollars.
Yeah,
It's different sports.
Yeah, I've said I think the difference between our level and the pros is just the level of competition. But the blood, sweat, and tears we got put in is like, it is crazy. Like, I see the pros train, and it's amazing. But when you're an amateur and you're doing this and it's all money out, like, you get paid for half the ticket sales, get a couple $100. Like, this is crazy.
Right.
You paying money to go fight somebody.
Right.
You're paying to fight.
Yeah.
You're paying to
That's
fight.
what it is.
Yeah.
It's
you
your
know.
expenses, your travel, your
Yeah,
airfare.
everything is you.
Because you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guys, we got guys going out this week, as you know, out to Turkey. We got 3 of them. They're fighting for the world championships out there, and this is their 3rd year in a row. 2 of them, Jabril and Alex, and they've had to pay their way out there each
Yeah.
time. Thailand one time, Greece another, Turkey now.
Yeah.
And
Now it's Jeff's first time, and it's
Jeff's
the
first
first
time.
time he's traveling to compete, and it's not cheap.
It's not cheap. I mean, these guys don't make that much money. I
Yeah.
mean, relatively speaking, they're doing private lessons. They're teaching. They do this because they love it.
Yeah.
And that's how most of the fighters are too, from the other countries,
Yep.
or from the other cities, at least from the U.S. But when you go, what we found out, when you go out there, the other countries subsidize all these guys.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
And that doesn't happen in the
It
U.S.
doesn't happen.
Yeah, I heard
here.
that. Yeah, I heard that.
So it's unfortunate that our country doesn't do that for us, but
Yeah.
that's the way it goes. We
Yeah,
just got to deal. We got
that's the
other
game.
things.
Yep.
Yeah.
We can't complain.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
figure it out and go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, we should probably wrap this up. We got some classes we got to
Yes, sir.
start to today, and it was great having you on, Reco, sharing your story. It's an
Thank you all.
inspiration, and it's. I know people are going to hear this and be like, "Wow,"
Yeah.
One little tidbit that people might not know is that we had Reco as a guest before, and we recorded the whole podcast, and we forgot to hit record. So now we're back.
Round
and
2.
no, honestly, like, we want to have you again. Like, even though, like, this is the first time, I mean, not the first time, it's always fun having you as a guest.
No, thank you. I'm honored to be here. You all have done more for my life than I could ever put into words. So I just want to thank both of you
We
for
appreciate you, man.
Yeah, this opportunity, and for allowing me the family. For the people who don't know, they've held me down here when I couldn't even, pay my membership. So they've still allowed me to be here when they knew what I was dealing with the courts and stuff. So I speak to that truthfully, because I appreciate that truthfully as personal business. But I want people to know the type of family you all have been to me since being here. Fight for my son has been the biggest fight of my life, and it feels like you all were in my corner in that fight too. So I just want to give you all y'all flowers on record. So
That's why we call it In the Corner, baby.
Let's go.
In the corner, right?
Let's
In
go.
the corner.
Let's go.
All right, well, let's bow out on 3 with Kap Kun Kap, which is thank you in Thai. Nung Sang Sam.
Kap Kun
Kap Kun
Kap.
Kap.
Peace out.
Peace out.